From Relay, this is Upgrade, episode 605, and it is a draft day. Today's episode is brought to you by Sentry, Fitbod, Squarespace, and Factor. My name is Myke Hurley, and I'm joined by Jason Snell. Hi, Jason.
Bring in the marching band. I love it. I love to hear the marching band.
It is that time. I have a Snell Talk question for you, though, because we have usual business to get to before the draft today.
All right.
This question comes from Matthew, and it is one of the rare Snell Talk follow-up questions.
Oh, boy. STFU.
Following up to Jim's...
That's what it stands for, right?
Yes, STFU.
Snell Talk follow-up.
Follow-up, STFU. Yep. It doesn't mean anything else.
Nope.
Matthew says, follow-up to Jim's PB and jelly question. What kind of jelly does Jason use? I assume grape, as Jason mentioned purple goo. But are there other acceptable kinds? Or what about jams?
Okay, first off, this is not Robot or Not. We're not going to talk about what is acceptable. That is a different podcast. Mm-hmm. I will tell you what I have for my PB&J. And my purple goo that I'm referring to is actually blackberry preserves. And I will also sometimes get strawberry preserves. I put links in the show notes to the ones I buy in America. Bon Mama. But there are many others. I prefer the preserves to the jelly. I when it gets too much of that jelly consistency, where it feels like it's on its way to being what the British call a jelly, which we would call Jell-O, when it's like super gelatiny and all that, and chunky. And it holds together. I don't actually want that. I just want kind of fruit goo. So that's when I said purple goo, I actually meant blackberry preserves.
Essentially, what you are having is more like jam, what I would call jam.
Yeah. And there is a technical reason why preserves, jam, and jelly are different, but it doesn't matter, and I don't care. So, but blackberry and strawberry are my preferred flavors. So there you go. Go forth and make PB&Js. But just remember to put the peanut butter on the outside and the jelly on the inside.
Thank you so much to Matthew for that STFU. If you would like to send in your own Snell Talk question for us to open a future episode of the show or follow up, you can always go to upgradefeedback.com and send it in.
Of course.
We do have other follow-up.
We do.
So, as foretold, Kieran Healy has performed a statistical analysis of the Six Colors report card. Is there anything in here that jumped out at you that people should go take a look at?
I just, it's fun when he does the charts. He's trying to visualize that data in a certain way. I give Kieran access to the numerical data. What I found funny this time is he did a little of that, but mostly he threw it away and went to the verbatim responses that people did and did a bunch of sentiment analysis. Look, this is Kieran having fun, following his muse. Kieran does this because he wants to. He started. He was like, Jason, I looked at this and I have interesting thoughts. And I was like, I'll send you all my data. And now for years, he's sort of been doing this, and it's just fun. Kieran, for those who don't know, is a professor of statistics or sociology. He's a statistics expert. He's a professor of sociology at Duke University. Has written multiple books about charts and things, and friend of the show, absolute bankable friend of the show. But I love this because he was like, what if we do some sentiment analysis based on the words he used, using a couple different techniques in the words people wrote, not the numbers they gave. And I thought that was interesting. He also has a few funny asides where he talks about the panel is big enough that you can kind of get a clue, but it's not so big that you can take as much from it as maybe you otherwise could. But he did try to pin down if people who were really, really down on Apple's World Impact Score were also down on sort of everything else Apple was doing, which was like a theory we had that he heard us talk about last week. And, he said, you be the judge, but it looks to me like probably that is the answer. But anyway, it's a fun post with lots of charts. And if you like, I just think it's fun to have somebody who is so knowledgeable about this stuff, take a spin through the data and just see what jumps out at him. I like peering inside Kieran Healy's brain for just a minute. So yeah, it's great.
You also answered for your rascally nature on this week's episode of the talk show.
I did. John Grouper wrote a post last week saying he was listening to Upgrade and he got to the part where I was a rascal and I gave the Mac 5 out of 5 and defended Tahoe, and he wanted to strangle me. And since I'm going to see John this week at the Apple Experience in New York, we decided to do an episode of the talk show to bury the hatchet and he doesn't want to strangle me anymore. So that's
good news.
That's good. I got to explain myself and explain that really my act of rascaliness was the difference between giving it 4 and giving it 5. I do believe, I think there's a lot of Tahoe that is of a benefit, and the stuff that's wrong with it, I don't disagree that it's wrong. It's not enough for me to not use it. So I tried to explain that a little bit more. John obviously disagrees, but that's fine. I mean, I think we disagree less than you would think. And yeah, me being a little stinker like Stuart Wellington on the Flophouse, sometimes being a rascal, is more about when I said 5 instead of 4, right? Because there's the fun, measured, simple, like, oh, it's 4, there are issues, and I gave it a 5 mostly because I was like, I mean, I believe it, but maybe that was a bold statement. Anyway, it was a good chat. It's not 3.5 hours long, so people can check it out and listen before the Apple event on Wednesday, because it'll be kind of more out of date by then, I think. But and no baseball talk, so hooray! Good luck.
That's why it's only 2 hours and 15 minutes long.
Right, no baseball or keyboards or anything. We kind of stuck to the topic, and I feel like we did a really nice narrative thread through it. A lot of the stuff was connected about sort of like what's going on at Apple and what's right and what's wrong about it. I did get some unhinged feedback from it that where I complained about the iWork apps not fitting in the creator's studio, and somebody decided that meant I said that writing is not a creative act. I guess because of Pages, which first off, I don't even view Pages as a writing app. I guess you write in it. I view it as like a thing you use for like invoices and cat lost posters.
I don't really think it's a tool that a lot of people that will call themselves writers would use.
Yeah, I don't know any professional writers who say Pages is my main axe. Yeah. I just don't. Anyway, that person was kind of unhinged, and I replied to them, and they replied back with something even more unhinged, and then I blocked them. So that person is gone.
You
can't. No, I mean, if that person, look, bottom line, that person, I think, was just trying to defend Apple from me daring to suggest that what Apple did was bad. I did find it funny that he said, "I can't believe you said to John Gruber, a professional writer who's been writing all day for 20 years, that writing is not creative." I'm like, well, first off, I am also a professional writer. Second off, professional writers don't write all day. I'm sorry, whatever you think. It's not. We're not sitting in Pages pushing characters into the cursor on Pages every day. But so that it's like, what are you talking about? This is my profession. Who do you think I am? But this guy took a shot at me for getting he was like, ironically, you got a journalism degree, which says a lot to me, because it says that he has no idea who I am, and looked at my Wikipedia page so that he could throw some shade at me, because it does mention where I got a master's degree in my Wikipedia page. So well done. Anyway, but I think we had a great conversation that threaded user experience issues with Tahoe and the iWork apps discussion, and sort of like all of these issues being kind of like fundamental to what's facing Apple right now in terms of problems with the quality of what they're doing. Also, I have a little follow-up of my own, which is I said on the talk show, and I think on Upgrade, I've been talking about people I know who have refused to upgrade to Tahoe. Mm-hmm. And I keep mentioning John Gruber, and I keep mentioning Marco Arment. And I got a correction, because Marco, and I knew this going into the talk show, but I didn't say it because it was too complicated. So I'm going to say it here, which is, I know Marco finally updated to Tahoe because he had issues with development and he needed to upgrade to Tahoe. But I did also get some important feedback from John Siracusa that I'm leaving him out, because John Siracusa also refuses to update to Tahoe. And so I want that out there. I want it on the record. John Siracusa also not on Tahoe. I
wonder who gave you that feedback.
John Siracusa gave me that feedback.
I know.
So I should have mentioned him as a laggard. I thought that the fact that he's still using an Intel Mac would strongly imply that like there are so many things that he's not doing, but he is also not updating to Tahoe. I regret the omission, John Siracusa.
I mean, I just had to check. I mean, I wasn't sure. And yes, the Mac Pro is still compatible. The 2019.
Yeah.
Mac
Pro. Yeah.
Congratulations
It is
to John.
But he's not doing it. He's not. His Intel Mac Pro is not running with Tahoe.
Did he
Just
give
no.
a reason why to you?
I
That
think
he wanted stated on the record?
no, but I not to put words in his mouth, but my guess is the reasons are apparent. And actually, you can read what he wrote about Tahoe in the report card, and it's very clear what his reasons are. He said it's the worst. That's the short version of it. He said it's
There
the
you
worst. Literally the worst.
So I assume he's using it somewhere then.
Yeah, he's probably stuck at some. I think he's got it on like an external drive he can boot to. Right. Like in a thing that if anything, if it angers him in any way, he can just take that thing and set it on fire and throw it out his window. That kind of thing.
Apple have announced that the Mac Mini will soon be produced at a new facility in Houston. Talking about the Mac Pro, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that this is another sign that the Mac Pro is not long for this world. As the American-made computer.
Exactly.
They're now moving the Mac Mini there. They're also looking to build AI servers at this Houston facility.
That's not quite right. They are building AI servers there.
Sorry,
in fact, there's
continuing to next generation.
That's
stuff.
where they started with this factory, was building servers for private cloud compute. And there's a video on the Wall Street Journal that actually shows some of that going on. Where you can, the ATP guys actually did this, where they're like freeze framing it and like, well, what's in there? Like, is that multiple processors? What's happening there? But they're going to build a Mac Mini there as well as other places. This is to be clear, they're not building all the Mac Minis there. It's just going to be, they will build some Mac Minis there and make them available in the local markets or in the region, which means they'll make enough for the U.S. maybe, or for the U.S. and the rest of North America. We'll see what that is, but that allows them to say, look at us, we're making consumer products in America, not just these servers that we're making. And they did that, of course, the day of the State of the Union, because it was intended to be a kind of a political statement about bringing manufacturing capacity back to the U.S., which is part of the narrative that is going on out there.
Well, we said this before, and I'll just say it again. This is a thing that Apple does with every administration. This is not a Trump administration thing.
Well, I would say the first Trump administration put this on the table, and so they also did it with the Biden administration, but I'm not sure it was on anybody's radar as much in the Obama administration. I feel like this is more of a Trump thing.
I think, the Obama administration, if I remember correctly, this was the whole thing where Steve Jobs said to Obama, I can't do this.
I can't make an iPhone, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
How about a Mac Pro? Anyway, so it is look, and I will just say, I think given the so much of Apple's stuff is based in China, and we know that means that if there's a rupture, Apple's going to have a hard time making stuff. And given that the chips are made in Taiwan, and if China attacks Taiwan, Apple's going to have a hard time getting chips, and the world is going to have a hard time getting chips. There are two responses you can make to that. One is, I hope it doesn't happen. And because we can't make them now, so we just should not try and wait. The other thing is to say, okay, maybe we can't get there today or even in the next 5 years. But if we want to ever have alternatives to China, alternatives to Taiwan, what's the line? The best time to do it was 10 years ago, and the next best time is today. That's where they are. And so I think it's not bad at all to see Apple supporting TSMC, building chips in Phoenix, and Apple itself building some computers in Houston, as well as doing kind of like a manufacturing academy there, in addition to the thing that they're doing in Detroit. Like, it may be it is not for show. It is not for politics and to point at and say, look at us investing in America. It is that. But if you were ever to get to a state where you could hedge against the loss of China or Taiwan, you got to start somewhere. And so I think that this is not a bad thing for them to do.
I've said it on the show a bunch of times. I think it's a good idea. And just in general, I was like, you should have a diversification in your production. Like, you just should. If you can, you should. Like, what, as you say, because if something terrible happens, Apple is screwed. Yeah. Right? Like, what are you going to do? Like, so, they should absolutely do this. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Sentry. Logs are messy. Trying to grep through them and line them up with traces and dashboards just to understand one issue is not going to cut it. Sentry, that's Sentry, has logs too, but they've made them usable. Sentry's logs are trace connected and structured so you can follow the request flow and filter by whatever matters. And because Sentry surfaces the right context where you're debugging, the trace, the relevant logs, the error, and even the session replay all land in one timeline, no timestamp matching's needed or no tool hopping. From front end to mobile to back end, whatever you're debugging, Sentry gives you the context that you need so you can fix the problem and move on. I know from being friends with and working with developers that one of the things that developers love the most is to build new stuff. Like, you want to build new features, new exciting things because it's exciting for you and your customers will love it. That is not what you get to do if you're spending tons of time trying to debug an issue. And that is where Sentry comes in, by giving you all of the information you need and helping you understand exactly where the problem is, where it came from, and can highlight everything. They can give you the tools that you need to get what you need to be like the bug fixed quickly. Then you can get back to exactly what it is that you want to be working on, which is developing your app to be best for yourself and for your customers. More than 4.5 million developers use Sentry, including teams at Anthropic and Disney+. Try it free at sentry.io and tell them that we sent you. They have a free dev plan, and listeners of this show can use the code UPGRADE26 to get $100 in Sentry credits. Our thanks to Sentry for their support of this show and Relay. So you got the opportunity to have, I'm assuming it's a briefing with friend of the show, Eddie Q.
Yes.
About F1 coming to Apple TV. So this was we were talking about this last week. My expectation was, as yours was too, we would get some information before the season begins this weekend. Well, technically, coverage begins, I think, on Thursday.
Yeah, now's the time.
For the first practice sessions of the 2026 F1 season. And so it will be live and on Apple TV. I'm going to give a breakdown of a couple of technical things. So Apple will have 4K HDR with 5.1 audio, and the video will be, quote, less compressed.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated to see what that ends up looking like.
So, let me explain this. So the MLS and Major League Baseball coverage that Apple has done, people have praised, and I have praised certainly, for how good it looks. It looks better than the other stuff we see. And one of the reasons is a lot of the stuff we see is coming through a workflow that is involved with like a cable company broadcasting the games. It's traditional TV workflow. And I think, and I don't know where in the workflow this stuff happens, but the argument here is that it gets really compressed in order to save bandwidth. And then if you have a cable or satellite provider, they compress it further. There's more compression that happens. Back in my TiVo days, I discovered that a lot of HD signals on my cable box were not, or my DirecTV satellite, were not at full resolution. They were down-resing them in order to save on bandwidth, which is just like, so it's HD, but it's not the HD that it was. It's less. And there's pipeline issues with all of that. One of the things that Apple says that they've done is, it's in addition to HDR, which really helps the colors and all that, is, and Eddie Q called it out, it's less compressed. One of the things that Apple has tried to do in order to boost image quality is they use higher bit rates and do less compression. And because they're just doing it for Apple TV and not to go through ESPN on a cable system, they're able to get higher quality results. So all of that stuff is 1080, that 1080p. So this is 4K, which is new. I think that's because, Formula One has invested in 4K HDR cameras. I think part of it is that there aren't like stadiums like there are with MLS and Major League Baseball, where you have to have, they don't bring the cameras in for every game and then take them out and go to the next city. That's not what they do. They use the cameras that are there. For Formula One, I think they bring their cameras with them. I think they probably got a few sets of cameras, and they set them up a few weeks in advance. But they've got the ability, my guess, I don't know this for sure, to to control what is capturing, and they are apparently 4K HDR and with surround sound, and that's not necessarily new. That's been around a little while, but on top of that, Apple's going to do their thing where they compress it a lot less. So basically, they're saying it's going to look great, and I believe them because the Major League Baseball stuff looks great.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I use Sky here, right, as I spoke about before, and I have Ultra HD. So it is in theory 4K HDR with surround sound.
Right.
But I've never really thought that F1 looks that good. Even like it looks better than the HD service that I was getting before on a different streaming service.
And are you using cable or satellite or streaming?
Satellite, but
satellite.
It's actually streaming.
Streaming.
Okay, so let me rephrase that. Sky is a satellite service which
right.
you can get via satellite, but we do just streaming with them.
Just get
we
the
have
streaming
Sky
version
Stream. So it's going to be interesting to me to, I don't know how I'll see it at some point, but at some point I will get to see how this looks like, and it would be very interesting to see exactly how they compare. You got some more information about the multi-view. So they have up to 4 feeds. You can choose what video feeds you want. There are driver feeds. There are tons of cameras available.
Right. There's
like the
P1, P2, P3,
stuff.
which is a fun idea, and I think that's new.
Presets.
Where those channels are presets for who's in first, second, and third place.
Yeah.
So you could set up a multi-view where the leaders are on the side, and then the main broadcast is in the middle, and they've got lots of these presets where, not everybody is a quad box sicko like me, and so you can just say, show me that view with this team. Show me the view of Red Bull, and it'll put the main broadcast on and the 2 Red Bull drivers' cameras on. And then the nice thing about it that I realized is, at least on Apple TV, these may be presets that are pre-built on some of the streaming platforms Apple supports that don't have much horsepower. That's my guess, right? That's what YouTube TV does. Is their multi-view is a bunch of pre-baked multi-views that they put together. But on Apple TV, it's just a multi-view. So if you then want to edit it and take one of those drivers out or whatever, you can do that, because it's just a preset for the multi-view setting. It's not like a baked in on Apple TV. So it looked really good. And then they have a Vision Pro. People were wondering what the Vision Pro strategy is. Right now, the Vision Pro strategy is you can do up to 5 on Vision Pro.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
I'm disappointed that they haven't done, because they got one of their channels is like a track view. That's the thing where they need to get there, where they've got a 3D track view channel that just shows up on Vision Pro, but they haven't done it.
It is very funny that is the difference. It's like, I guess it's like, what, they can put it above where the screen would be.
Yeah, but and they can be virtually bigger and all that, but what that means is that on Vision Pro you get Pentabox, which is exciting.
Pentabox. Well,
so
that's
yeah.
fun. English and Spanish audio will be available. The F1 TV announce crew is going to be the primary announcers.
Yeah.
Sky Sports feed will actually still be an option. You can listen to Sky Sports, but
Yes, it's a separate video feed, but you can still add all the multi-views. I asked about that. So if you are a Sky Sports partisan, you can watch Sky Sports and still add in all the driver cams and do all that, and this is all just in the TV app.
But this is the long-term follow-up to my prediction that Apple would not have their own announcement team.
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it. They're going to use F1 as their partner for all of that, and then Sky is the alternate. So because Sky was on ESPN, right? So like people who are used to the Sky Sports on ESPN in the U.S. will still be able to get it.
Yeah.
Or they can get, by default, it will be the F1 TV crew. But
I'm so pleased that they've given that option. Because it allows for people, because it allows for choice. I think it would have, I like the announcers, Sky Sports announcers. The Sky Sports announcers are very polarizing amongst F1 fans, but people who watch on ESPN will be used to them. And, if you don't want to switch away from that, you can listen to it, but you will get all of the weirdness that would be from listening to a Sky Sports announcement team, which is talking about what is on Sky Sports right now.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons you label it the way you do. I mean, obviously they knew that this was going to be there, and that F1, buying the F1 rights gives you the rights to all of that too. Like obviously they have the rights to Sky Sports feed as well as the F1 TV feed, and this is how they've chosen to do that. So I should say, I saw this explained, or heard this explained somewhere else, and I'll just mention it here. People who watch F1 know this, but like there is no Apple set of cameras. There's a feed of the cameras that gets used by F1 TV, and it gets used by Sky Sports, and it gets used by every F1 broadcaster in every market, regardless of their language. The cameras are the cameras, because you're not going to have 1,000 cameras at an F1 race, and
that also includes the what is on screen.
Yes,
is not decided by any individual company.
Exactly.
F1
now,
decide what is shown.
Except you can have, in some circumstances, your camera there, but what you're doing is you're cutting your camera in over what you're being given by F1 in order to do a little localization of
like
it.
If they have a trackside reporter or whatever.
Exactly. So this is, I bring this up because I want to say there's a better example of this, which is the Olympics, which everybody just saw. The Olympics has an international broadcast center. There's one feed for the Olympics. Those cameras are from the Olympics, therefore everybody. Exact same deal. Your local broadcaster may have a camera there. Like I watched a lot of curling. They had a rink side reporter in the curling venue, and she was sometimes just audio, and she was sometimes on camera. But when she was on camera, they would usually put up a double box with what was going on. And that's literally NBC taking the international broadcast feed on the left and their camera that they've got, their one camera in Cortina on the right. And then doing that and then cutting back, because so you can localize it a little bit, but for the most part you're going to be using the international feed, and that's exactly what F1 does as well. So it's not it's a World Cup is like that. Like when you've got these enormous events, international events, you can't have every broadcaster doing their own thing. So instead, there's some localization around the edges, but the primary thing, actually, I see this in Premier League broadcasts too, where like the announcers don't get to control when the replay is showed. So they'll sometimes be talking about something and it won't be on the TV because the director of the broadcast is not listening to the NBC announcers, right? If they're listening to anybody, they're listening to the local announcer, and they may not even be listening to them.
And similarly, like as we spoke about before, like Apple will not have any control over the graphics that are showing, like the timing graphics and all that kind of stuff. They can add their own things on top.
Exactly.
That is also set by F1.
Yeah, some of that there's possibly that some of that gets put out as a graphicless feed because you have to localize it into different languages, but I think a lot of it is just is stuff that they have the data, they're the one generating the graphics, you use their graphics. And that, again, exactly like the Olympics. If you notice, like all the Olympics graphics are the same. World Cup, all of those are the same. I remember during the World Cup recently, there was somebody took a picture of what was on their broadcast screen in some other country, and it's like, oh, it's exactly the same, because they might put a little logo up or something like that, but the fundamentals of it are just part of the international broadcast.
But the thing that nobody saw coming, and similarly that Eddie Q says, we're excited today to announce something I think no one was expecting, is that Apple have done a deal with Netflix to bring Season 8 of Drive to Survive simultaneously to Apple TV. It's available now. It came out on Friday.
Yeah. And
in return, Netflix will be getting co-streaming rights to the Canadian Grand Prix in May. My expectation is my thought was why the Canadian Grand Prix? It's the first North American Grand Prix that happens in the calendar.
Two reasons. A lot of people are like, well, it's also Indy 500 weekend. I mean, maybe, but it's in North America, and more important than in North America, it's at a time that people in the United States can watch it live.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Right?
Yeah.
Because so much of this, they did say that they're going to try very hard not to have any spoilers, because visible in the interface, because they know that as the U.S. provider, there are going to be a lot of people watching it delayed. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how multi-view and everything else works, where everything is on demand and delayed. But I'm sure it'll work great. And that's really smart. And I told this to you, and you said, yeah, there were a lot of issues with that with F1 TV, where they were like putting up a big hero image of who won the race when you were just trying to watch it. And
you'd open
Apple,
like the F1 app and all that kind of stuff. And
so Eddie Q said they're going to try very hard to not do any spoiling of what happens in the race, because they know, as the U.S. rights holder, that so many of these races are going to be done in the middle of the night, and people are going to and watch them the next day. But yeah, the Netflix deal, I mean, no, it's true. Nobody saw this coming, but it makes a lot of sense, right? Because who are the two brands that have the biggest connections to Formula One? It's Apple and Netflix, because Netflix has Drive to Survive in the U.S., right? And so this is a U.S. deal. And it to me, it's a total no-brainer as a quid pro quo, right? Which is like, Netflix will give you Drive to Survive. It's just season 8. If you want to go back, you got to go to Netflix. In return, Netflix, which loves to experiment with live events, gets to try out a Grand Prix and see how that goes. And it's not exclusive, but it does mean that if you're just an Apple TV person, we talked about this last week. Just an Apple TV person, maybe you don't have Netflix, you've never seen Drive to Survive, and you said one of the great ways to prep for getting into Formula One is to watch Drive to Survive. Well, it's really like previously on Formula One, because it's the doc series about last year's Formula One season. And now it's available to everybody who has Apple TV in the US who's going to be able to use Apple TV to watch Formula One. What a great idea. And then Netflix gets to see who is watching a Formula One race on Netflix, which I think will give them some interesting data.
It might be data in the long run. Apple wish they wouldn't have given them.
Maybe, but that's business. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I did in my story put the obligatory parenthetical statement of, hey, since we're all friends now, how about a bigger deal that allows Apple's interface to include Netflix content, because that would be really nice for those of us who use the Apple TV.
Can't even imagine the reaction at Netflix when Apple made that call. I'll be like, what? Excuse me?
I wonder. I mean, we don't know who called who. My guess is that no. My guess is that Formula One said, "Let me put you two together."
Maybe so.
I think Formula One was like, "This makes too much sense. You've got the doc series. You're the rights holder in the U.S. Can you two talk?" And so I don't think it was necessarily Eddie calling Ted Sarandos. I think maybe it was Mr. Formula the First calling, saying, "Can I get Ted and Eddie together to talk about this?"
Apple is also doing a deal with Tubi for what is called, quote, exclusive altcasts for multiple races. So there will be a selection of races that will be shown on. This is a ad-supported streaming service, right? Tubi.
It's free. It's owned by Fox.
Yeah.
It's a free ad-supported streaming service. It's very popular. It's actually one of the more popular streaming services around, and it's completely free. So they're going to do an altcast. And you said there's an existing F1 Kids altcast.
My prediction is that this will be F1 Kids. So this has been a thing that's been going for the last couple of years, where they are focused around kids. So there's a lot of animated characters of the drivers, and they do special effects, and they actually have announcers, and also some of the announcers are children.
Yeah, this is actually what CBS has been doing with NFL broadcasts with Nickelodeon. Where somebody scores a touchdown and slime comes out, and it's all overlaid. And they've also done animated stuff where or was it Fox that did that, where they've done animated characters, so it's like a video game where they're doing motion capture data and then putting it on Toy Story or The Simpsons. So I guess that would be Disney. So that's probably Monday Night Football altcast. So yeah, there's a lot of I love it. This is an example of Apple saying, well, we're the rights holder, but we want this to be maybe a little bit bigger. Just because they're the rights holder doesn't mean they have to hoard it all. They want to have some of it out there. And a Tubi deal is really smart.
Both of these things, the Tubi thing and the Netflix things, is audience capture for F1, and Apple has the audience.
Exactly.
They have the capture.
They have the content. And Tubi is popular and free. And I am surprised there aren't more sports experiments happening on free ad-supported TV, because that's a big audience, and you are generating audience and generating ad revenue, and it kind of makes sense. So also, I'm a huge fan of altcasts. I think giving people different ways to watch live sporting events is a great idea, because everybody has different expectations and different experiences, and you can find, this is why I like, so Monday Night Football has the altcast that's the Manning cast, which is Peyton and Eli Manning, and it's basically they're doing a podcast while the game is going on. And they'll talk about what's going on in the game, but they'll also get guests on, and they'll talk about that. My favorite thing about it is it's two successful NFL quarterbacks with their perspective about what's happening on the field, and they have insight that is sometimes really interesting, and then sometimes they'll bring on players who also have insight. Other times they bring on celebrities, and I usually flip back to the regular cast at that point, but because it turns into like more of a podcast. And ESPN used to do that with Major League Baseball, where they had like a stat cast, and it was basically like the stats nerds version, which is right up my alley. So I love. Yes. If you're a live sports rights holder, playing with Altcast is a great idea. So I love it.
So the draft is coming shortly in this episode, but something happened that we thought would happen, but I don't think it happened exactly the way that we thought it would. So we have the first of Apple's press releases have come out today, announcing both the iPhone 17e and the new iPad Air. So if there is another iPad announcement to come, for some reason they have split them.
They have,
and which is, I mean, I guess the logic would have dictated it would be 17e today, iPads maybe and Macs tomorrow, and then the MacBook on Wednesday because Wednesday is the experience day, right?
Yeah, Wednesday's experience day. I thought it would be 17e today, iPads tomorrow, and Macs on Wednesday. But now I don't know at all. Like,
now it's all out the window.
It could be all of them tomorrow, all the rest of them. It could be some of them tomorrow and some of them Wednesday. Anything is possible now. So they're mixing it up. They put all the products in a blender. So we don't even know what's to come. But this takes all of our iPad Air and 17e picks off the board, obviously, because those products are out now, or at least announced now, available at the end of next week. Pre-orders will open on, I think, Wednesday. Interesting, right? Oh, Wednesday, you say, because they don't want to update the store 3 times. Yep. So, here we are. So new 17e, which is, remember when the SE came out every like 5 years, and when they released the 16e, we said putting a number on it is an interesting choice, right? Does it imply that they're just going to increment that every year? And I think it turns out it did. And I think given what we have heard from Mark Gurman, this time next year they'll do a phone event probably that will be the 18e as well as the 18, because they're going to split iPhone releases. And this is essentially the laying the groundwork for that. But I think this is going to happen with a lot of Apple's products now, is Apple's making their own silicon. It's fairly easy to turn over a product, easy being a relative term, but turn over a product to put some new Apple design chips in it, maybe every year, if you're not redesigning it. Especially, I think, if you're designing it with the thought that next year we'll just iterate on this a little tiny bit. And that seems to be what they did here. Is it's got A19, it's got the C1X modem. Last year it had the C1. It was the first product to have an Apple modem in it. But it's now the one that was in the Falls phones. Otherwise, it's not like super change. They put the magnets in, finally.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty decent update, but I just want to mention real quick, because this was pointed out by Zoe in the Discord. This phone goes on sale on Wednesday at 6:15 a.m. Pacific time. I think leading more to there will be some kind of video on Wednesday.
Yeah, they're going to drop and they're going to update the store one time, and it's going to be
so it'll be at the end of a video. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. A video that I'll watch in New York, probably.
I would say this is for the iPhone 17e is a pretty decent update. It didn't get everything you could have potentially wanted. No. Like the notch is there instead of the dynamic island. But you've got an A19, great. They got the bump. C1X modem, so it's got the faster modem,
which they say is a lot faster. Yeah.
Yeah. Ceramic shield, and probably more power efficient, you'd assume as well.
Yeah.
But they've got ceramic shields that are tougher glass on the front, and MagSafe, which it should have definitely had from the beginning.
For sure.
It's got a pink now as well as black and white.
Yeah,
which is
I have heard from an inside source who has used that pink phone that it's awesome. Really nice color.
And I bet that's probably going to sell. This phone will probably sell more units because they have a pink one.
Colors, people. Yes. Colors.
Yep. It has the same 48 megapixel camera and 6.1-inch display.
But the camera has better portrait because it's using the image pathway from the A19 instead of the A18, which allows them to do the enhanced portraits on both cameras. Even though it's the same camera specs, they've got more capability because
from the chip.
The chip is doing the whole pipeline thing that it's doing. Yeah.
Same price, $599, but 256 gigabytes of storage. They doubled the storage.
Yeah.
I think this is a very solid update for this particular type of phone.
Yeah, and I think this is the Apple way of addressing, I think, what a lot of people said in the report card, that $599 was probably too expensive for your cheap phone. Which I could see the argument that it felt like a $499 phone being sold for $599. So what Apple did is the ultimate Apple thing, which is they didn't lower the price, but they increased the specs. So it's not a price cut, but it is a suitable amount of storage at that price. This is a much better product than the 16E was. Now, is it? I think there's a real argument to be had about whether you'd be better off if you can at all afford, especially if you're on an installment plan through your carrier, a 17 proper, because the 17 proper is so much better than the 17E. But the bottom line is that's not what this product is for. This product is to hit the lower price point.
And it's pink.
And it comes in pink, soft pink.
I do think that pricing, the $599 for 256, this may be me getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but I actually do think it applies to the iPad as well. There's going to be, I think, a lot of discussion once all these products are announced. Probably some is already hit by the time you may be listening to this, about RAM and what Apple's response to RAM is. Now, the same issues are with SSDs too, but RAMs are just more so. So, the fact that they have doubled the storage and kept the price the same, where Apple could have doubled the storage and increased it and says it's, we're starting at this, but it's the same. They've done that before. I think Samsung just did this with their phones too, where they increased the starting storage and increased the price. But they're like, hey, it's the same price for this one. I think the fact that they have done this with these products could suggest potentially that they are trying their best to take this one on the chin maybe this year, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So, that's that. We've also got the iPad Air, which gets an M4 chip, an N1 Wi-Fi chip, and the C1X modem. So it's got all of Apple's new stuff. And also, same prices, $599 for the 11-inch and $799 for the 13-inch. So,
yeah, I mean,
not much to this one.
Speed bump, right? And better,
M4.
It's a chip bump, which is great. I mean, they kept the prices the same. This is a really great value. I find it funny that every now and then I see somebody in the discourse say, I don't understand why the iPad Air exists. Whereas my feeling is the iPad Air is the most important iPad in some ways because it is the best balance, because the iPad Pro is so expensive. But if you want a good iPad, not the cheapest iPad, that's like not good enough for you, it's so great that the iPad Air is here. It's only one chip behind the Pro. It's got a lot of features that used to be on the Pro. It supports the keyboard. It's got all of that. And it's way cheaper to get into it than it is a Pro. So it's I think, a really great product. And similarly, this is not an exciting update, but it is Apple kind of like keeping all of the stuff up to date. Every year, this stuff is getting another, year forward in tech. I like that. I much prefer that to leaving a product sitting, on the side of the road for 2 years. If
you argue the iPad Air, you are arguing both the MacBook Air and the iPhone 17. Like, you're arguing the existence of all of these products, which are great products, right? But
exactly.
There's a cheaper version of all of those things. Well, there still is, even with the MacBook Air. You can get the M1 MacBook Air from whoever might be selling it at that time. But there is cheaper products in each of these categories. So these all have a great reason to exist. The iPad Air is the default iPad, I think. The iPhone 17 is the default iPhone for lots of people who might just be making a decision. Same as the MacBook Air. So I think the iPad Air makes great sense as a product. It makes more sense to me than the regular iPad. That just fills a price point more than anything else.
I agree. I could argue, and I'm somebody who bought an iPad Pro, but I'm not sure the iPad Pro pricing makes sense for almost anybody because it's so expensive versus the Air, which has everything that was in the iPad Pro 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah. I was using an Air for a few years. I got one the year that I had COVID at WWDC 2023.
Good times.
Because there was something in iPads that time. Was it Stage Manager? So I got
you needed
iPad
a higher
Air delivered.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was I'm really sad. I'm going to spend some money on a piece of technology.
I mean, I like the Magic Keyboard for iPad Pro for the modern iPad Pros. It's nicer, right? It's got the extra row. it's got stuff that's nicer about it, and certainly the screen is nicer. But like, you can do the Magic Keyboard, the older one that was also great, smaller trackpad, didn't have the extra row and all that. Yeah, but it was great in its time, and that's still the iPad Pro keyboard, and it's good for a lot less money. So there's a lot to be said for the iPad Air, which now is on M4. So it's not going to give you the M5, but do you need that on an iPad? Some people might say yes. Some people want the nice screen. It's all good. I got one too because I wanted that iPad experience. But for most people, the iPad Air makes so much sense, and now it's staying up to date with the times. So you don't have that moment where you're like, oh, this thing's really appealing, but it hasn't been updated in a while, and that chip is looking a little old. Apple's just not doing that. I like it.
This episode is brought to you by Fitbod. If you're looking to make changes to your fitness level, getting started can be tough. That's why I want to let you know about Fitbod, because it is an easy and affordable way to build a fitness plan that is made for you, because everybody has their own path to personal fitness. So Fitbod uses data to make sure they customize things to suit you perfectly. It will adapt as you improve, making sure every workout is challenging, but also pushing you to make the progress that you want, because you will see the best results when a workout program is tailored to your body, experience, environment, and goals. Fitbod stores this information in your Fitbod gym profile and tracks your muscle recovery as you're doing your exercises. You'll be avoiding burnout this way and also keeping up your momentum, because your muscles, they work best when they work together. So you don't want to be overworking or underworking muscles, because this will have a bad impact on your overall fitness. So Fitbod tracks your muscle fatigue and recovery and designs that well-balanced workout routine for you. You're also never going to get bored, because the app is mixing up your exercises, rep schemes, supersets, and circuits. This is really valuable to me. If I'm doing the same program over and over and over again, I get bored of it and then I kind of lose interest. But I like that Fitbod keeps introducing new things and keeping me engaged. Fitbod builds your best possible workout by combining exercise science and AI. Fitbod have analyzed billions of data points that are fine-tuned by their team of certified personal trainers, and they have more than 1,000 demonstration videos in the app, so you'll be learning every new exercise the right way. The Fitbod app is super easy to use, and it integrates with your Apple Watch, Wear OS smartwatch, and other apps you may use like Strava, Fitbit, and Apple Health. Personalized training of this quality can be expensive. Fitbod is just $15.99 a month or $95.99 a year, but you can get 25% off your membership by signing up at fitbod.me/upgrade. That upgrade, that's strange. So go now and get your customized fitness plan at fitbod.me/upgrade. Once again, that is fitbod.me/upgrade for 25% off your membership. Our thanks to Fitbod for their continued support of this show and Relay. It is time for the draft.
Let's do it.
The March Experience Draft.
Yep.
These are the rules. There are going to be 6 rounds in this draft, 12 overall picks. Somehow we managed that amount. The draft champion gets the first pick. I am the draft champion. The items that we're picking from are chosen from a predetermined list of choices we have agreed could be verifiable and not ridiculously obvious. Considering there isn't a defined keynote, we're doing the draft a little bit differently. For an item to count, it must either be announced in a video, press release, or on a product page on Apple's website that we can point to from now until we record the next episode. Hearing it in a briefing or from a friend, not enough this time. We've got to be able to point to something.
We want to see something on Apple's website that confirms whatever it is. Now, we don't have any deeply esoteric picks here, so I don't think that'll happen.
It's very unlikely.
This
is going to be an issue.
Because the draft is all sportsmanlike and gentlemanlike, we will probably agree. If we really deeply disagree, Stephen Hackett will be our judge, and the usual, no partial points. Once we award the points and score it on the episode, there's no going back. It's final.
No going back. In the case of a tie, we have a tiebreaker question. The draft challenger gets a pick of the question. The draft champion has to answer said question. The winner becomes the draft champion, displays the champion pennant. The loser becomes the draft challenger and displays the challenger pennant. You can find interactive scorecards at upgrade.cards. Thank you to Zoe Knox, who puts those together for us. And you can also buy your own draft t-shirt at upgradeyourwardrobe.com. That is an item on sale all year.
It's a perennial, yes.
Yes, and I leave mine in the drawer and I bring it out on draft days. I'm wearing my draft t-shirt today.
Very nice.
Yep, this might be my lucky T-shirt at this
It
point.
might be. I'm gonna
Because
have to
I'm on a pretty
destroy it the
decent
next
run.
time you see it. Yeah.
I'm on a pretty decent run.
Yeah.
The history of these events, there is actually a history. There have been 3 March events in the past, and Jason won all of them. There was an event in April in 2021, which I won. That was the last time there was an event in this time of the year. Like a draft at this time of the year. The last few, it's just
Pretty
been
wild.
WWDC is the first one. One of those, Jason, that you won was the streaming event. Do you remember that one? About Apple TV?
Apple TV, yeah.
It's like a bunch of celebrities. So,
yeah, that's
good
right.
times.
Jason Momoa was there, and Jennifer Aniston.
And everyone else, including
It's
Oprah.
literally the fulfillment of my lifelong dream to be in the same room as Jennifer Aniston. It didn't go the way I thought it would.
Hey, but let's be honest. Did you ever actually think you were going to get it, you know?
No, never. Never.
You have a tiebreaker question for me.
I do. The tiebreaker we decided to go with this time is an over-under. This is going to be of the new low-end MacBook, which if low-end MacBook, whatever it's called, it doesn't matter. That's a choice we can make. If it doesn't happen, this is invalid, and if we tie and this doesn't happen, we just tie. That's just it. We're both winners. But I am going to force you to guess what the base price is going to be, and it has to be over or under $699.
Wait, but
if it's $699, I get it.
Wait, hang on. No,
Yeah.
hang on. Wait.
Yeah.
What? So if it's exactly $699, you just win it?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
Yep. That's it. That's how over under works.
I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah, that is how that works.
But I feel like I'm being punked.
It's over or under.
Yeah, but if it is $699, which is a
I
very
win.
likely price point,
Yeah.
you just
Then
win.
I win. I just
But
win.
what if I want to choose $699?
Too bad.
Okay. This is interesting. Turns out that the tiebreaker,
Okay,
you could also just create your own
I'll
rule
give it.
set.
Tell you what, I'll give it to you. I will take the opposite of you. If it's $699, again, it's just going to be a push.
What if you choose $698
I don't want to give you
or
$699.
$700?
I don't want to give you $699 because I think it's going to be $699.
Yeah, me too. Which is the problem.
Well, it'll be a push if it's $699. How about that?
I mean, a tiebreaker has to be a thing. So,
Okay. All right. Let's do this strategically.
okay.
So what I would need to do then is say, do I think that it's more likely that it's going to be $7.99 or $5.99?
Mm-hmm.
And by my law
You always go up.
it's always more disappointing than that. So I'm going to say, I don't want to do this, though. I don't want to do this. I am going to say $650.
$650. All right. I like this. Thank you. Over or under $650. I'm taking the over on that.
Yeah,
and by the
of
way,
course you
this is the
non-education
price.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I feel
Sure.
like that makes more sense to me than just
I don't
if it's
like
the
it.
price everyone thinks it's going to be, then Jason just wins.
I win.
Okay. There's just a draft pick for you at that point. All right.
But I went against my own rule, and I said, what if it's a $5.99? I think also it could be $7.99. So, I'll give it to you, though.
I think it's going to be $6.99. It's more likely $7.99. I feel like based on the Snell law of,
You can
of
take
Apple
it.
pricing.
You can take it.
Over $650. All right.
Over.
So let's get into the draft. So all of my first 3-round picks were all iPhone 17e related.
Well, go
So,
ahead.
I make
You
my
won't get them.
draft list. I'm just letting you know. I wiped out the vast majority of my top 10 picks this morning with these, with the iPad Air and the iPhone 17e. So I guess I'm gonna have to start with the thing that we're hoping exists, and if it does, no, I've changed my mind. My first round pick is the new base iPad supports Apple Intelligence.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm betting on them actually having this product which
hasn't been announced yet.
Which seems less likely now. But I feel like my other first round pick, there's some wiggle room in there. It's a dangerous thing, I think, to have as a first round. But to me, I think if the base iPad exists, surely it has Apple Intelligence in it, and so I'm taking that as my first round pick.
It's great. I think that's reasonable. I think that's going to happen. It was on my list. Not high on my list, but on my list.
Right.
So I'm going to go with new laptop is named MacBook.
That was my first round pick.
Okay.
I chickened out at the last second. It seems so obvious, but that's never stopped them before.
It's marketing, so you never know.
Yep.
I would really be surprised if that's the right name for that product, is just MacBook, the new MacBook. And that there's MacBook, MacBook Air, and MacBook Pro, just like there's iPad, iPad Air, and iPad Pro. That's the brand name. Let's not be cute about it. They've used it before multiple times for this kind of product. It's the right name. Just put it out there. So I'm going to go, even though it is risky in the sense that it's a marketing thing and nobody really knows, I just can't imagine it. I can picture it. So I think it's got to be that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm absolutely in complete agreement with you, but I feel like if there's Snell's Law 1B, is that...
Don't pick marketing names.
Don't pick marketing names. And the leaks for marketing names are just like, they don't mean anything until they actually start printing the boxes.
It's true.
Until that, and even then, so sometimes
I'm not sure.
They don't put the name on the boxes.
I'm not sure we've even seen a leak about the name.
No, it's just what everybody thinks it's going to be called.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be called MacBook. That's
risky.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick from the heart with my
Do it. I love it.
The new laptop comes in at least 4 color options.
Oh, you got my hopes up when you said I'm going to pick from the heart, and then you picked exactly what I was going to pick from the heart next time.
That's still coming from my heart.
All right.
It's still coming from my heart. This is what I want. I want this so bad. I want there to be colors, and I want there to be lots of them. So
your danger, because we agreed on 4.
Yeah.
Your danger is that there are 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think there will be... I think you're right, though. I think what we'll get is 3 color options and then silver, which makes technically 4 color options.
Yeah, I don't think that there is, we're going to get 4 bright colors. I think it will be similar to the iMac, right? Which is like there's a selection of colors and there's a default color, and the default color is silver. We could even see silver, black, green, blue, or something like that. But the sub thing in here that I want to be true is they are 4 good colors.
Well,
right, but
I don't know. I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yeah.
That would be great. It would be the first colorful, truly colorful laptops in since the original iBook. My gut feeling is these will be very similar to the iPad base model colors, and that's the model they're going to use. Maybe it'll be the iMac, but because the iMac's kind of two-tone, but they've got the aluminum on the back. It's bright.
I mean, I hope that they do iPad rather than iPad Air, because like the iPad colors are very saturated.
Yeah, the base iPad colors. That's my guess, is that they will basically be the base iPad colors.
That would be amazing, because like the iPad Air colors are like the iPad Air just walked past the iPad and took a little bit of color from it. A little
stink from it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the iPad colors are just very saturated. Like a blue, a pink, and a yellow, and then the silver. I mean, that would be fantastic, I think, if they went with that route. Although I do expect that those colors will be different on the iPad, but I don't know if that's... I think that might actually be a pick that we have later on, so
we'll see.
Talk about that too much.
So, what if that's what they do, is they hold that iPad so that they can announce the colorful computers next to each other?
Maybe.
It'll be Color Wednesday. I'm going to pick that the new laptop has a screen smaller than 13 inches. I believed for a very long time that it was going to be the M1 MacBook Air screen. There was that Mark Gurman report that it was actually going to not be, and it was going to be more like a 12.9, which is, last time I checked, smaller than 13. So I'm going to go with that. I think that that'll be a differentiator, is that screen's going to be smaller. Not a lot smaller, but smaller than what we've seen on the M1 and that's a way to differentiate it from that nice screen on the MacBook Air today.
All right. I'm going back to the MacBook. Well, just the entire draft, and then my iPad pick, and it's all MacBook.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the new laptop will be wedge shaped.
Whoa!
Yeah,
that feels real wishcasty to me. Talk about a thing that hasn't been rumored.
I don't know. Maybe. I can imagine just keeping that design, the MacBook Air design.
It's a classic.
Because I think one of the things that Apple wants to do here is make sure they continue selling this computer. And it has to be different from the MacBook Air. They have to be different products. And I think that keeping it in the old MacBook Air style will indicate to people, oh, this is like that computer that I had. But it's also different from the other one, which is boxier and thinner. So.
I'm a big believer in the idea that Apple's going to recycle a lot of its parts here, so it could recycle the design from that. What gives me pause is two things. One is the rumor that the display is going to be smaller, and the other is the rumor that they're using a different aluminum process on this, which suggests that they can't reuse the M1 Air case. They made a new case, and did they choose? Not to say that it couldn't happen, but it means that instead of it being kind of like inherited, they have to choose to keep the wedge around. They might. I mean, I remember when they came out with the Retina MacBook Air, which was the Brooklyn event. One of the things that was striking about it is that they said they very specifically decided not to change the wedge shape because they wanted it. That was what MacBook Air meant to people, and they didn't want to change that, so they didn't. So
maybe they just busted out the design of the 12-inch MacBook. Like, if we're going to make the MacBook, let's just make that one. And that was a very, very slight wedge, but a wedge still. Yeah. So maybe they just did that. Just 12 inches. That's what they need, small screen. Just go back to that.
That would be interesting. I don't think they're going to do that, but that would be real interesting.
Avenging laptop of the past. I do. I mean, I get where you're coming from. Right? This is probably a brand new design, right? Like, they're not just taking the shell of the MacBook Air,
right?
But I just think that they may just want to just go with this, and that's one of the things that's going to make this computer look a little bit different. I am also, as been pointed out by Jambo in Discord, I am partly picking this on behalf of my wife because she does not want to let go of a wedge-shaped MacBook Air, and I'm desperately hoping that a new computer will come into her life at some point, and that's only going to happen if there is a wedge-shaped Mac because she does not like the MacBook Air, and so I'm hoping that this will happen. So then a beautiful, colorful computer can enter our home.
That's very nice. Well, I'm going to say that the MacBook base model comes with more than 8 gigabytes of RAM.
This was my next one. Yeah. Okay. Oh wait, more than.
I think it's going to be 16.
The base.
I think it's going to be 16.
In this economy?
Or 12.
In this economy?
Or 12.
What are you doing? Okay.
I'm thinking about what is the limit, and my gut feeling is that it's not going to be 8. 12 might be a possible, right? Just to be like, and it's got more than 8. It's not 16, it's just 12.
I think if they did do more than 8, it will be 12.
I think they're worried about it.
Air starts at, I think.
I get that they're worried about RAM prices, but also there's the functionality of this thing, and I think having it only be 8 is right on the edge, especially for like Apple Intelligence, which I do think they want to put the sticker on the box. So I just pure gut feeling is I don't think they're going to go regress because the Air starts at 16.
Yeah,
I just don't think they're going to
12 at 16 now.
I don't think they're going to regress by half. So it's a gut feeling thing, but I'm going to go with my gut feeling that it's going to be more than 8. But yeah, 12 is probably the most likely to me, but it may be 8.
10.
I just don't want to get scared off on everything because of RAM, because we've already seen that they're not acting quite as scared as you might think. So don't overcompensate that. So anyway, I'm just putting my chips down here. This is why I've lost so many drafts, but I got to go with my gut, what I think is going to happen. That's it.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform that is designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just getting started or scaling a business, Squarespace will give you everything that you need to claim your domain, showcase your offerings of a professional website, grow your brand, and get paid all in one place. With Squarespace, you can make the most of Blueprint AI, their AI-enhanced website builder that will let you quickly and easily build a site bespoke to your business faster than ever before. You just input some basic information about what you're looking for, your industry, and your goals, and you're going to get a beautiful starting point for you to customize. Now, I love their professionally designed and award-winning website templates. That's how I've been building with Squarespace for years, because what I love about them is just, no matter how you build, actually, you can always go in and tweak to your heart's content. No experience required. They're very simple system. Drop-downs, sliders, selectors. You can choose colors, fonts to your heart's content. It really is fantastic. Then once you've got your website up and running, you can make smarter business decisions with their analytics platform. You can keep track of the stats that matter with intuitive built-in analytics tools, making it super easy for you to review website traffic, learn where to focus engagement, and track revenue from bookings, invoices, or product sales. And one last thing that I've been enjoying recently with Squarespace is their email campaigns. So you can send out emails to a mailing list for Squarespace, and again, super easy to do it. One of the things that I really like is you can very quickly turn a blog post into an email that you can then send out to people. It's just a very easy way to manage that flow. Head to squarespace.com/upgrade and you can sign up for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code UPGRADE and you'll save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That is squarespace.com/upgrade with the offer code UPGRADE and you will get 10% of your first purchase and you'll be showing your support for this show. Our thanks to Squarespace for their continued support of Upgrade and all of Relay. Now, I'm in a bit of a tiz now because I was going to pick MacBook base model comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Wow.
But now I don't feel so confident on that because you have made a good point.
I talked you out of it.
But also that's actually good for me, bad for you, because that if you're very confident about that was going to be a pick that I would have made and maybe would have been wrong.
That would be a big swing. I don't know if I'm very confident in it. I confident enough to pick it, I guess, but not confident enough to pick the.
Let me tell you my thinking on it, because like I mentioned earlier about the RAM pricing, I don't know what they're going to do, but I mean none of us do. My thinking was if you're introducing a new product, you can maybe kind of like tweak it a little bit, so you end up maybe going a bit lower than you would normally because it's brand new. What people are going to say?
Yeah, and you may be right. My gut feeling is that Apple wants to come out with something that feels solid, even though it's cheaper, and that it might also, we don't know, it might also kick around for a while. And
yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It is just a gut feeling of like maybe they go out with 12 because that sort of sets the bar there instead of going out with 8 and feeling like they really kind of skimped and those systems are really kind of, not ideal. But, they might.
I am going to make a RAM pick, though.
Okay.
RAM prices on the MacBook Pro are the same.
Are the same.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this is when you're configuring a MacBook Pro.
Yes. Obviously a new MacBook Pro.
An M5
MacBook
Pro or Max MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
That the RAM prices on those upgrades will be different than the current RAM prices.
Well, I'm saying they won't be different.
Oh, they won't be different. Right. Okay, so we click on that now, and it's like you can go to this and this and this, and those prices will not change.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think Apple's already made a bunch of money from RAM, right? Like they're RAM positive, and I think that. So I may be bringing my own bias in this. I think this RAM thing is a temporary problem, and a lot of people are treating it like this is for the rest of all time. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think this is a big problem, but a temporary problem. Reminds me of the great chip shortage of 2020.
Legacy nodes.
And I think that if Apple are able to... I mean, I assume already that they probably had a pretty decent stockpile of RAM. And so they I'm sure, had to buy more, but maybe they try their best to eat it. Maybe they put up the price of the MacBook Pro a little bit, right? I don't know. But I hope that they are just going to say, you know what, this first time, we're not going to change anything. We're not going to mess with anything. We'll see what happens next year. That's my hope, that they're going to go with that, but we'll see. Because my concern would be, if they put them up this time, it never comes down again. So I hope that this is purely for me a thing that I think they could do. I think Apple is in a position that maybe a lot of other companies are not. But part of it for me as well, we've just seen products, that could have had their price go up and they didn't. So we'll see.
Yeah. One of the mysteries, going back to the MacBook RAM for a minute, one of the mysteries is like, we don't know for sure what chip it's using. But I will say that the iPhone Air and Pro have 12. And the question is just like, do they think an older chip with 8 gigs of RAM is enough for a Mac? And I just don't know. Maybe it is. But that's the question. We will find the answer, right? But that's my question. That's what do they think is good enough?
Very good point. That is a very, very good point. And that is the thing too of like, was that chip designed to work well with less than 12? Like, was it ever really a consideration?
Yeah,
maybe.
And what chip is in there? Is it the iPhone 17 chip or is it the iPhone 17 Air chip?
Yeah.
Because remember, it's not a phone; it is a Mac. It's got different specs. It has to do different things. I don't know. We'll find out. I am going to go with what is in the draft scorecard parlance a bummer pick. But it's on our list, and I'm going to pick it. Mac Pro not updated.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
If it's updated, I'll eat this pick. It's fine. Yeah. I'll take it. But
if anything, I'm annoyed that I forgot to put that one in my list here.
Yeah, I think it's dead. I don't think it's coming back. Yeah. But dead. In fact, I don't think the Mac Studio is going to get announced this week. I think that's going to be next month because Gurman suggests that it's not coming. Maybe, but I right now I'm going to kind of guess not. I do wonder if there is an ultra configuration Mac Studio, if that is the point at which they announce that the Mac Pro is discontinued. Maybe not. Maybe they have a grand plan to bring the Mac Pro back. But at this event, I don't think we're going to hear about the Mac Pro. I'm going to take that one off the board.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm annoyed at myself. All right, so round 5. Penultimate pick. I teased this one a little bit earlier. The new base iPad comes in a new color. So I think if they update the iPad, it won't be in the same set of colors that they have right now. So there'll be something new.
So what gives me pause here is that the 17E got one color, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
The iPad Air did not get any new colors.
Mm-hmm.
So I worry that the iPads are just gonna let it ride.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe it's like they said, what we said earlier is they will update the colors in that product the same as they do the MacBook. Whatever colors they put in the MacBook, maybe they put here too. I don't know. But I'm going with that. We're getting to slim pickings now, honestly. And I'm trying not to lean too hard into the MacBook.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to go with starting configuration on the MacBook Pro has changed.
Wow, okay.
This just feels like an Apple thing. You're right. We're slim pickings now, but what I'm going at here is surely. I don't know.
Well,
I don't
you mean like GPU and stuff here? Because the chip's different, right?
The chip is different. I just keep thinking that the base model will be different in some way, and that might be the way that Apple sort of sneakily handles a price increase or a content change. I don't like this pick. I don't know why I'm making it. Can I withdraw it? Maybe I'll withdraw it.
You can withdraw it if you want to, because I think this one also might be really complicated. Like we're going to have to define it, right? Because if the GPU,
well, you wrote it.
I know. But what I was thinking of when I originally wrote it was RAM and SSD, and I didn't think until just that moment of like, well, the GPU core, the core amount will probably be different. Does that count? That seems too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to pick it, then just go for something else.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go with new laptop does not have Thunderbolt.
Okay.
My reasoning here, I actually think that if you view it as like, well, what can we take off of this thing to make it worse? Like, let's take Thunderbolt off of it. But the truth is, Thunderbolt is kind of a pro thing. It's not necessary, and those A chips don't support it.
That's a good enough reason. Thunderbolt's a good thing to take away because, by and large, the majority of things that need to be Thunderbolt still work with USB-C. Like you can still do transfer speeds and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Like you can still plug an SSD in; it's just going to be slower, but it will still work.
There are very few devices that are like Thunderbolt only.
Yeah.
And again, this is a low-cost laptop, and I mean, more to the point, those A chips don't do Thunderbolt, and why would you do a variant that does Thunderbolt? Like, it just doesn't calculate for me.
Doesn't the iPhone Pro support Thunderbolt? I think it does Thunderbolt.
See, you're going to make me question all of my. It's USB.
The
iPhone 17 Pro supports USB 3 for up to 20x faster transfers.
That's what I'm thinking of then.
Which is not Thunderbolt.
It's not Thunderbolt.
It's just USB 3. And maybe USB 3 is supported. I'm not picking that. But like Thunderbolt is like M chip territory.
Because obviously the iPad Pro has it, but that's an M chip.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
And the iPad Air too, but not the iPhones. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Specifically a good pick because the chip, we just can't do it. It's like a really good pick.
Chip can't do it. Probably won't.
All right, so we're into the last round. I am struggling. So
basically, starting configuration on the MacBook Pro has changed. It's still out there.
Yeah, it sure is. It really is. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. All right.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to the past here.
Okay.
Will we pay for the sins of the 12-inch MacBook?
Okay.
With the new MacBook.
Okay.
So we're gonna pay for those sins.
Okay.
So one of the big issues. Jason knows what I'm gonna say. He's just posted it in the document. He knows where I'm going. One of the sins of that computer was ports.
Yes.
Apple has since solved the potential ports problem by introducing MagSafe.
Yes.
So I'm going to say that the new laptop does have MagSafe.
Okay.
And then they can have 1 or 2 USB-C ports or whatever they're going to have, but at least you will be able to charge this computer and do something else at the same time. That's what I'm going with for my final pick.
Okay. Look, okay, what gives me pause here is Apple has a new thing. It's so easy to say, well, they'll just leave that thing out. And Apple often surprises us. It's things we're like, well, they're obviously not going to put that feature in that model. And then they do. And you're like, oh, okay, interesting. That's what I would say if it has MagSafe. Is, oh, okay, they're splurging a little bit. And, if so, then good for them. The M1 Air doesn't have it, so it would be an upgrade on the M1 Air. It does require them to have a MagSafe charging cable in the box and have space on the device for a MagSafe in addition to whatever the USB ports are. I could make the argument that the real lesson to learn from that MacBook, the previous MacBook, is don't have one port.
Yeah.
So if this thing has, like the MacBook Air, you have to charge it via USB-C, the M1, but you had another port, so you didn't need them for just charging or data. I'm not convinced this thing's going to have MagSafe, but I'm not necessarily convinced enough to pick the opposite of
convinced, which is why it's my final pick.
It's why you're
in the draft, right? It's round 6. Like I'm not. This isn't a round 1 pick.
That's fair. And you're leaving me with nothing.
Exactly. It's like, oh, you want to dig into the Mac Studio now? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, it's not great. So So I'm left with a bunch of picks about products that I believe will be announced, but that I don't believe what the picks are.
Right.
And a bunch of picks about products I don't believe will be announced.
Okay.
So that's great. That's great for me. So this is what this is the last pick. I'll just tell you what I've got on the board here. I've got RAM prices on the MacBook Pro are higher. Just opposite you.
Yep.
There's a new iPad accessory from Apple.
These are the things that you're considering?
Yeah, but I'm not going to pick that. I've got new laptop does not have MagSafe. So I've got two opposites of you, basically. Mm-hmm. I've got MacBook base model storage, right? So the iPad or the MacBook Air starts at 256. Is that right? I think that's right. The question is, would they start at 256 or would they start at 128 with the base model MacBook?
128 sounds terrible.
It doesn't sound good, though, right?
Sounds like a very bad thing to do. 256 is where it starts.
Yeah.
128 would be that would be a terrible thing to do, because there'd be 128 gigabytes and then Tahoe takes up like half of it.
Yeah.
I want to just give, like, while you're thinking, I give people, so basically aside from that, Jason has essentially Mac Studio picks, display picks, and home, like Apple TV, HomePod updates. Like, these are the kinds of areas that we're picking from. Like, what are the specs of the display? What chips are in the Mac Studio? Like, these are things that could potentially happen. But since I started putting this document together, then Mark Gurman has kind of really said, like, he does not think that those products are going to be this week. So that makes it particularly difficult to make those picks.
Well, it turns out that this is going to be a tiebreaker because I'm just going to pick new laptop does not have MagSafe.
Wonderful. I love it. This is a real tiebreaker question now.
Yeah, that's the real one.
That's brilliant. I like that we've got that in the same round too. It's essentially two tiebreakers. Oh no. Oh no, we have two tiebreakers. This is how we end up tying.
That's great. I love it.
So that's the draft. If you want to pick up your scorecard so you can score along with us throughout the week, go to upgrade.cards. I guess it is actually funny that some of these picks, by the time you're listening to this, may already be decided, which is not typically, I think, how people tend to get the draft episodes. So that will be a lot of fun. So you can go pick that up. Yeah, some of the stuff that was on there, one of my favorites was new Pro Display has a stand included. That's my favorite thing that I added, and that one may come back in a future draft.
Yeah, so for the record, I almost just threw in Apple releases a new display in the lineup right here.
Yeah,
because what if they do?
And then you could still do it with laptops. It doesn't have to wait for the Mac Studio.
It doesn't. It's only Mark Gurman throwing water on it that made me kind of less excited about that. And I thought at least there's a look. I think it's possible that the starting configuration on the MacBook Pro has changed. I think it's possible that RAM prices on the MacBook Pro are higher, right? I think those are possible. And I think it's possible that the new laptop does not have MagSafe. That's the one I actually feel is the highest percentage of all of those. Right. So I'm going to pick it. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to pick it. So there it is.
I'm happy that you did.
And I thought you were going to pick that, and you picked the opposite. And I was like, why do I think that? Why am I happy that my opponent has chosen that? So I might as well just go all in. And I hope it does have MagSafe. They're going to cheap out on some stuff.
Of them just making that the power cable again for all of the Mac laptops.
I agree.
I would be disappointed, not just because of the draft. I would be really disappointed if they release this product and the way that you charge it is by plugging in a USB-C cable. I think that is like it's making the Mac more confusing again in a way that I don't want them to do.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Factor. Cold days, big goals, no time to cook. It can be hard to juggle everything at this time of year. Thankfully, Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without the planning or cooking. With Factor, you can expect quality ingredients, lean proteins, colorful vegetables, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. It's the stuff you'd make if you had no time. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. There's also a lot of variety, so you'll never get bored. Factor offer 100 rotating weekly meals with options that include high-protein, calorie-smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, and ready-to-eat salads. Plus, the new Muscle Pro collection supports strength and recovery. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, and ready in about 2 minutes. There's no prep, no stress. Jason, can you tell the upgradians a little bit about Factor, how it fits with the routines in your family?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the best example I can give you is that we buy them for my mom because she doesn't want to cook for herself. She's just living alone, and we were worried about her nutrition, and we want something other than, like, meal shakes for her. Like, so, and we have been so happy with it. And I said before, Lauren will just steal them and take them to work. And so we also send them to my mom because we're happy with the quality, and it just is really easy for her to, pop it in the microwave, a couple minutes, and it's done. It's really nice. And, again, what motivates this is the quality of it. If I had tried it and I thought it was terrible, I would not be buying it for my mom, but I am. So there.
I made the mistake of opening the Factor website and seeing jalapeno lime cheddar chicken, cheesy garden herb chicken, and Dijon mushroom burger, and now I'm like super hungry. It's
now you're hungry, yeah.
And,
yeah,
I'm hungry.
Dinner time, Factor time.
Head to factormeals.com/upgrade50off and use the code upgrade50off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. That's factormeals.com/upgrade50off with the code upgrade50off. Our thanks to Factor for their support of this show and all of Relay. Let's finish out with some Ask Upgrade questions. Elliot writes in and says, with the low-cost MacBook on the horizon and the MacBook Pro reportedly getting slimmer potentially this year as well, what do you think would differentiate the MacBook Air in this environment? Could the Air get thinner and lighter, or will the MacBook Air become the mid-tier product like the iPad Air, not as thin as the Pro, but more robust than the low-end MacBook?
I love it when the Ask Upgrade question answers its own question. That's it. Is think about the MacBook Air like the iPad Air. That's it. It is the sweet spot. It is far more capable and will be far more capable than that low-end MacBook will be, and very nice, and not the cost of a MacBook Pro. And that's the role it serves. The MacBook Air does not need to be the thinnest laptop. It doesn't. It needs to be thin and light, but I think it will always remain thinner and lighter than the MacBook Pro, right? Yep. Just for cooling
physics,
reasons,
baby.
If nothing else, right?
Yep.
So I'm not worried. I think the MacBook Air will continue to be Apple's best-selling laptop, and I think it's in a perfect position. And it will just kind of continue on like that. I mean, it will change over time. They all do. But I think that it will be in a very comfortable position where, again, if the MacBook low end is on an A chip, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to not be capable on that device. And if people care about that even a little, also, it's just not going to be as nice. The screen's not going to be as nice. Like all of that stuff is going to roll down from the MacBook Pro to the MacBook Air over time. And, I think I'm pretty confident the MacBook Air will continue to be the best computer for everybody. It's not successful because it's the cheapest. It's because it's good and affordable. For people in that price range, it is a very good deal. It's an incredibly good deal if you get one on sale for like $799. So I think the Air is going to be fine. And Apple will have a little bit of a different balancing act to do, but I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I think we have to just, at this point, I mean, it should have happened a long time ago, just let go of the idea of Air meaning thin and light. It stopped meaning that like a really long time ago now.
Well, it means thin and light.
No, but it's not the thinnest, lightest, right? It doesn't mean that. It used to mean that. When it first came out, that's exactly what it was meant to signify.
Sure, but it doesn't
mean that anymore, and it hasn't for a long time.
iPad
it's
Air.
Just a product name. In the same way that, like, the Mac Studio is not any more studio than any other Mac. It's not like I can use any Mac in my studio, and I can use the Mac Studio at home. Like, they're just product names. It doesn't mean anything specific at this point. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a product name that Apple uses.
Yep.
In the same way that they, like the iPhone 17 Air doesn't, like, it means nothing. Like, it's not even mid-tier specifically, depending on how you look at it.
No.
It's just like, it's just a name that they use.
That is thin and light, and they're using it in that way. So the tag is a little bit different. But yeah, if you look at the iPad Air, I think you see, like, it can mean what Apple wants it to mean. And what it means is that it's implying thin and light in a laptop, not that it's implying that it's the thinnest and lightest laptop.
Yep. But what I mean is, like, the iPhone Air, they use it because it's thin, but that's not why they use Air on anything else, right?
Exactly.
Because, as you say, in the iPad, there's a thinner iPad. It's a Pro. So now what do we do? It's like it just doesn't work like that anymore. It's just a name that Apple uses whenever they want to.
Yes.
John says, what importance, if any, do you think Apple gives to the 6 colors report card?
Very hard to say. All I can really say is that I know they're aware of it.
Do you ever...
I mean, there's a court thing where there was an email that ended up in one of the court disclosures that was about the report card. So that did, Phil Schiller said something like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of developers," which is very funny. But they're aware of it. I mean, I get check-ins from people at Apple who reach out to ask about the report card.
I've got it here from the Internal Tech Emails Twitter account. This is published in May 2021. And this is from Phil Schiller to a bunch of people all around the company at Apple. FYI, this is in January 2016. So is this the first one? The second one?
First or maybe. Second one, yeah, something like that.
FYI, year in review by some Apple bloggers. Here is what they had to say about the App Store/developer situation. Probably biased towards feelings about the Mac App Store, since the writers have a long history with Mac developers. I mean, he ain't wrong.
Yeah, that's true. Well, if that was 2016, that was the first report card.
And it was sent to a bunch of people at Apple Marketing and the App Store. Philip Shoemaker, because Shoemaker at that time was running the App Store, I think.
Yeah. So that's the I'm not sure it was biased toward the Mac App Store, honestly. But anyway, because, like, we know lots of iOS developers too. Anyway, yes, that is good evidence, but I will just say that in recent years, I've absolutely had people from Apple reach out to me about the regular report card and the enterprise report card. They are aware of it. They know that it's coming. I don't reach out to them and say this report card is coming, but they're aware of it. What they do with it beyond that suggests to me that somebody inside Apple cares enough to ask, but I don't actually know what happens beyond that. If they like have it on their radar as a super important thing, or if they just don't care, or if they're just trying to defend themselves against, like, if something is really harsh or wrong they feel or whatever. I honestly don't know. I've never really gotten any kind of, like, how dare you kind of things from them about it. So I don't know, but they're aware of it.
It is used in a way that we imagine lots of coverage of Apple is used. It is either to prove a point, good or bad, or to win an argument. It's used in meetings. It's forwarded around like this, being like, "Good work, gang. We got a great score this year, improved on last year." Or, "See, I told you we shouldn't have done this. Look what it's done." Like, so many people disagree. I think it's used. That kind of stuff is. Yeah, and I expect this is probably a pretty good one for that kind of thing, because it's an aggregate rather than just one person's opinion.
Exactly. And to be clear, I'm sure there are lots of people inside Apple who read it. I know all sorts of people inside Apple who read 6 Color stuff, right? Like, and listen to our podcast and all of that. The question is, though, like, at a corporate level, is there attention on it? And I can say, yeah, to some degree, but what that means, I cannot say.
Absolutely. Seth asks, with 1Password's new price increase and knowing that Jason switched to Apple Passwords, I wonder if it has any family features. Sharing some but not all passwords in our family is a very valuable feature of 1Password.
Okay, I mean, good news. There's a shared groups feature in Apple Passwords, and it doesn't even have to be in your family. You can share with anybody. So, like, I've got a shared group with Dan Morin for some passwords for the websites that we work on together, right? Like, And I've got a shared group with my family, and I've got a shared group with just Lauren. So that's the, good news. I'm sure there are going to be a bunch of edge cases where it's like, but 1Password doesn't do that. It's like, as with any Apple feature, the whole goal, I talked about this on the talk show with Gruber, Apple is trying to solve the biggest chunk of the problem for the biggest chunk of people. And if you're on an edge case, whether it's the platforms you use or some very specific, I heard from somebody when I was saying positive things about this, who was like, but it doesn't do this very specific thing. Like, it doesn't, right? Like, it's not going to solve every problem. I think it solves most mainstream issues. And the sharing feature that they added this last cycle is really good because it is so flexible, and it's not just about family. You can share that with anybody. I think it's really valuable. I'll also say I got into it with somebody on, I want to say Mastodon. Sounds like Mastodon.
No way.
About this, which is where people were like listing. I mean, I had somebody who said, it doesn't work on Linux, so it's a non-starter. And I'm like, well, my original post said, if you're all in on Apple's platforms, it's worth it. That's what I said on Mastodon. And so to get a response about Linux, I'm like, you are fitting the stereotype there. Please read to the end of the sentence, Linux person. But, the feedback I got, look, some people don't want to use it. I also had somebody who said, it works great on Windows. I'm like, I cannot endorse using it on Windows. Maybe that's true, but that's not... I don't use Windows. I'm not trying to say you should use it on Windows. I'm just saying I've been very satisfied with it in the Mac ecosystem, or the Apple ecosystem. But I will say this. One of the mistakes people make when they're comparing 1Password to Apple passwords is, I want every feature of 1Password in Apple passwords. And that's a mistake, I think. So the one I hear the most is, what about secure notes? Apple has secure notes. They're in Notes where they should be. And I know, you get used to them being in 1Password, but they don't belong in passwords. They belong in Notes. That's where they are. They live in the place that makes sense for the ecosystem. If you only have one app, you put every feature in there. Apple has a whole operating system. There are, I heard from a bunch of people who are like, but I want to put extra metadata for per password. And it's like, yes, that is a thing that I miss from 1Password. Not enough for me to pay for 1Password anymore, but yes, that is a thing I miss from it. So, I just, the sharing feature really unlocked a lot of it. I didn't encourage my family to move. I didn't encourage Lauren to move. I didn't cancel 1Password. I've been using passwords for a couple years now, but I didn't tell Lauren I'm going to let 1Password lapse until this year, because now we're at a state where I can share passwords with her, like we did with our vaults in 1Password, and that made the difference. So I exported all of her stuff from 1Password and put it in passwords, and now we're there. I will shout out to 1Password. One of the nice things about canceling is you can keep the app around, and it will show you what was in your database at the time you canceled. So if there is something, the truth is, you can reset almost any password, so it doesn't matter. But if there is something that you need to get, and you're like, I don't have it in passwords for whatever reason, you can still keep 1Password around and open it up and copy that thing out. So good for them for letting you do that. I think that's a good practice. But to answer Seth's point, password sharing, don't have a problem with it. It's really good.
Yeah, I would say, for me, I still will continue to use 1Password because I do use a lot of features that Passwords doesn't have. And yes, so for example, I use Notes and I use addresses and all that kind of stuff. And these are things that I could share in other apps with people, but it's not what I want to do and wouldn't be ideal for the team that I'm working in.
Sure. So you've integrated it as part of a set of team functionality, which I would argue is what 1Password as a company is focused on, right? Yes. They're focused much more on enterprise content now.
I don't care that the price is going up particularly because it's
you're
so
using it for your
important to my business, and it's a business expense at this point.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's unfortunate that all price increases are unfortunate, but such is life.
And I think that's a really good dividing line. That really the issue with 1Password is there was a time where all of us started using 1Password. They started giving it away for free. It was a brilliant business model in order to build a user base. They just gave it away for free with, it was free with purchase of. It was free if you are a subscriber to this. It was like they did that so long, and that built up a user base. And then they switched to a subscription model, and people got grumpy and all of that. But that was at a time when having a subscription or a password locker was a great idea, and Apple didn't serve that market really. But Apple Passwords has gotten, first off, it happened, and then it got better. It was not an app, but it was good, and then it was an app, and that was better, but it wasn't a great app, and now it's even better. And it's this classic. It's like when I was talking about clipboard managers, right? It's like, okay, everybody's got their own clipboard manager. That's great, but like the system should do a clipboard manager, and now it does with Tahoe. This is one of those things where like Apple has to do its own password manager, and it has, and it's very good. And for a lot of people who bought 1Password because Apple didn't do it, this is a good time to look and say, well, wait a second, do I need it? And if you're using it for your business, if you've got very particular edge cases, you should keep using it and pay them for it. But I think there are a lot of people, including me, who looked at it and said, I don't see enough value in what I'm paying for. And that's okay. Everybody's going to make their own judgments. I know people who don't pay for Fantastical anymore because they're like, Apple Calendar's fine.
Yeah.
I am not going to stop paying for Fantastical. Like, I've tried Apple Calendar. I'm like, no, this does not work the way that I want to work. Everybody's going to be different. But I think the real core is not, I'm not trying to say everybody abandon 1Password. What I'm trying to say is, if you haven't looked at how far passwords has come, do so. This could be a reason to look and consider the value you get out of 1Password and what is there for free in Apple's operating systems. And if it turns out what they've got is plenty for you, you don't have to pay for 1Password anymore. If it doesn't work, then you should pay for it because it's providing you that value. And that's true of all sorts of different software and services.
Yeah, I think that like 1Password have clearly decided that they want to serve the enterprise market more than the personal user market.
Sure.
So it's not surprising to me that a bunch of personal users
Not at all.
are like, I don't want to use this anymore.
Well,
and then similarly, it shouldn't be surprising to them if when they try to increase this price, a bunch of personal users say, yeah, no thanks.
And if Apple and every other platform vendor is building in their own password saving model, they should focus on the edge cases and the business market, right? Like they totally should, because they came, again, Gruber and I talked about this a lot, why Sherlocking is not a thing, is if you build your product on a hole in Apple's product line, that is obviously a hole, and that Apple will eventually almost certainly fill it, and that's all you do, it's your own fault when Apple comes in and destroys your product. You need to be building a product that goes beyond the hole that Apple is obviously not filling. And you need to make it something that is going to be essential for people in lots of ways where the edge cases matter. And then when Apple comes in, they're not going to Sherlock your product because you've done that. And that's exactly what 1Password has done. Apple should, could, and did bring their own password manager to the party. And if you've never considered using it, it's worth considering. But like 1Password is going to be fine because they also knew that Apple was inevitably going to build up that feature and that they were going to need to be more things to more people. And going to business is a great example of that.
Yeah. And like for me, for my business, the amount that they're increasing the price, it's fine.
Yeah, no, because it's a business expense and it's a product you use. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I've had that with stuff where they're like, oh, we're going to increase this. It's like, well, my whole business relies on you and I get it. So, and I get value out of you. So I'm okay with it. Right? Like there are other products where I wouldn't say that, but there are products where it's like, go right on ahead. I'm not going to stop using you.
Oh, and I guess it's worth mentioning 1Password's been a previous but not continuing sponsor. I mean, if anything, they just had to deal with us. They canceled some spots, so if anything, I should be annoyed at them.
Yeah, no, and they have, and then they bought a company that sponsored 6 Colors a bunch, and so some of those converted into 1Password ones. But I think those are all in the past now. But yes, it's happened in the past. Take that for what you will, given what we just said.
Yeah, that's up to you. You can send us your feedback, follow-up, and questions by going to upgradefeedback.com. Don't forget you can get the scorecard at upgrade.cards. Thank you to our members who support us with Upgrade Plus. This week, I want to talk to you, Jason, about the fact that Paramount is now buying Warner Brothers.
Yep.
You can go to get that at getupgradeplus.com, sign up, support the show, become a member. You can find us on YouTube by looking for the Upgrade Podcast. I would like to thank our sponsors of this week's episode. That is Factor, Squarespace, Fitbod, and Sentry. But most of all, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week to talk about everything that happens the rest of this week.
Yeah.
Until then, say goodbye, Jason Snell.
Goodbye, Myke Hurley.